1, 2, 3, 4, they are called principles of individual decision making. So number 1, people face trade-off. Number 2, the cost of something is what you give up to get it. And I will explain one by one in our coming coming slides. Number 3, rational people think at margin. 4, people respond to incentives. So you see, all these 4, they have a common, that is people, and which means individual make decisions. How single person or people or household, they make decisions, right? So we call these principles of individual making decisions. The 5, 6, and 7, these principles are called principles of how people interact with one another. So previous 4, how one person, he make decisions. And then how people interact with one another. Now, so you can say that trade. Trade means you interact with one another. So trade can make everyone better off. Number 6, markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. 7, governments can sometimes improve economic outcome. So the rest of the 8, 9, 10, it is called principles of how economy as a whole works. So these 3 principles normally applies to macro, M-A-C-R-O, macro. So which means the standard of living depends on a country's production. Price rises when government prints too much money. Society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment, right? So all those 10 principles can be categorized into 3 principles. 4 belongs to how individual or how people make choices, make decisions. 3 of them, they are called principles of how people interact. The rest of the 3 are called how economy as a whole works. So let's talk about number 1. People face trade-offs. What do we mean? It means nobody have single choice. At least you have 2 choices. At least you have 2 choices. And if you are doing something, you are giving up the other choices. So to get one thing, we usually have to give up another thing, right? For example, students decide between time and study and job, right? You could be having a very nice, timing with your girlfriend, having dinner, having some coffee, or you would be doing some job. You would be watching some Netflix drama series. You could be going somewhere else for gym right? But you choose to study. There is always option. There are always some kind of trade-offs. Similarly, if you talk about some families, family also have trade-offs. Whether decision to go to vacations, between child education, clothing, and saving. When you become mama or baba, then you see that, then you think twice. Okay, if I go to the vacations, my kid is going to be school in next year, and I don't have much time, saving with me. It's better if I save something for his education. Similarly with the clothing, right? If you have more money, you don't have other, if you are confused between buying clothes or going to the vacation, then you think about that. If I spend too much money on clothing, suiting and all those stuff, then I won't have much money left for the vacations. You decide, right? Similarly with the savings. If your plan is to buy a house in 15 years, then you don't talk about this much. You don't worry about this much. Why? Because you think about less, changing your clothing, thinking about vacations, thinking about saving for your child education first. Your priority is to build a house in 15 years, so your focus is just saving, right? So there is always some trade-off. So the nickname of this principle 1 is there is no free lunch, right? It means making choices, making decisions requires trading of one goal against the other. So the classical trade-off, if we talk about as an economy, guns versus butter. Guns means that you are paying heavily for defense authorities, you are paying huge budget to the army or ammunition. Butter means you provide food or good standard of living for the your own people. So the more we spend on national defense, tanks, F-22, F-35, Black Hawk, guns, rifle, Kalashnikov, this kind of stuff, the less we have on consumer goods, the less we have for food, housing, cars, just like that, so that people can improve their livelihood, right? The more we have resources for national defense or for army, the less we have for good consumers, less we have for consumers. Okay. Similarly, clean environment versus high level of goods. That is the classical trade-off. If you want to protect your environment, then you need to produce low level or level of goods, because high level of goods require high tech machinery, which requires coal, and when you require coal, your environment is polluted. So that's why nowadays, due to this environmental changes, right, people are talking about green, protecting the atmosphere, environment. Everybody is saying that, even America, China, Russia, everybody is saying that, because every year the weather is changing. So can you imagine Serbia, which is the most the coldest city or coldest country on the world, they are experiencing the heat wave. The centigrade over there, the temperature is more than 40 degrees. Even in Russia, even in Canada, the coldest part over there, where normally the temperature is minus 30, now over there the temperature is 50 degree centigrade, not Fahrenheit, degree centigrade. It's like they are living in Dubai or Doha or something. So much heat over there. They are like just worried about, because the weather is changing rapidly, right? So you cannot say that, okay, we are making high level of goods, we are making the automobiles, we are building ships, we are building that, and we are not polluting environment. That is not going to happen, right, guys?
Right, right. May I talk something about clean environment and high level of goods?
Sure.
There is a quote that if you try to master both of things, you are master of nothing, which means you can choose two things. You can do two things at the same time.
So you can say the master, jack of all trade, master of none. It's an English, very famous, sentence. Jack of all trade, master of none. If you want to master everything, you turn out to be master of nothing. Good. So I have a very nice video for you regarding guns versus butter. I hope it plays here. Yeah. Right, guys?
I didn't
Yes.
quite understand the video that much. Like, I didn't quite understand the video. Like,
Okay, the video says that there is one person called Bob. So he has two
Yeah.
choices. He basically he works in a factory that makes washing machines, but the government says you need to produce machine guns rather washing machines, right? If somebody is needing a washing machine, can he get the washing machine? No, because the people now working in making the machine guns for for military purposes. So in that case, the people who want washing machine, they won't get the washing machine,
because
right?
they're yeah.
Because the government allocated more resources, more jobs to the military personnel who are making machine
The
guns,
machine gun.
right? So
True.
at the end, the nation must decide that you cannot let your company your country defenseless. In the meanwhile, you cannot let your people suffer. So you need to maintain a balance between so that you can protect your country plus protect your people as well.
Yeah, like providing them jobs and like
Yes.
defending by defense.
If all the resources are diverted to protection of defense system, then your people will suffer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now our second principle. Now our first principle was that there is a trade-off between options. Now this principle is basically the cost of those options. Now you are deciding between the cost of those options. Previously we talked about, okay, you have a choice between going to the work or attending this class. So those alternative, there is no free lunch, principle one. Now you talk about the cost. Okay, I paid 600 yuan for this lecture, and if I don't take that lecture, my 600 will go waste. And on the other hand, I can be utilizing these 3 hours. I can go to the for example to the Starbucks and can spend 3 hours work, and I could get 150 yuan. So then you will think about that. Okay, 150 yuan will go waste or 600 yuan will go waste. Then you do some cost and benefit analysis. You say that, okay, so there's choice to attend the class because in that way I will lose 600 rather than earning 300. So 600, saving that 600 worth of knowledge is good for me rather spending time to earn 150 yuan. Okay. So this is basically the cost of something is what you give up to get it. It means there is no free lunch. It means the cost of there is no free lunch. It means cost and benefit analysis. So think about that. Whether to go to college, consider the costs. Costs are tuition fees, books cost, accommodation, food cost, and number one is time, which is the biggest one. And if you don't understand the time one, there is a next, next slide in which I would explain this, how time is the biggest cost of all. So whether to study or go on a date, then you find out cost and benefit analysis. Okay, you are in a college and you have a class is 3 hours class, and you have a date as well. How you can manage? So you take the cost, tuition fees. I spend cost of books, accommodation, my food cost. Okay, I can neglect the food cost. I can eat with my date. And what about the time cost? And then you realize that, okay, my total cost is